As you know, we've started our mobility division about 3 years ago and set it up with Joe Grazzi heading it. So Joe's been working within Ingram Micro in setting up contracts with manufacturers, not just of handsets, but tablets more recently, and contracts with carriers as well. So this year we announced that we got the third major carrier in Canada signed up, so that VARs can resell carrier contracts for mobile devices through Ingram Micro. I think the VARs in Canada are a lot around, do a lot of work around recommending the solutions. I think a lot of them now want to get into apps more for mobile devices. I think some of the barriers have been the decision gets made at a different part in the organization for the most part, right? Some of them, the decision on telecom gets made in IT, but a lot of companies, the IT area will work up to the connection. When it comes to individual phone plans, it's done through somebody else. So the other thing in Canada is that as there are kind of three major carriers, some are competitors to other VARs, so some of them find it difficult to align with carriers. But I think as that market is becoming more open, I know that as competition's increased, the carriers are more open to partnering, and they know for them the life of the contract is really the benefit for them in signing up a new customer. I think the other barrier some of the VARs have had is that their compensation plans are based on the first time hit for a sales rep, right? So having recurring revenues not as easy for them to deal with, as we've seen with some licensing plans. But the way we set it up at Ingram Micro is they get the money up front for signing up a carrier, and that's easy for them to distribute it to their reps from a commission perspective.
And that's that upfront money. What does that represent? Is it first year fee, or what's the kind of?
Yeah, it's based on the first year fees, right? But I think that if I was when you think of the margin that's in, say, a laptop, right? So you sell a laptop bare bones for most VARs now. It's just been diminishing, right? The average sale price of a laptop's, say about a third of where it was 2 years ago, and the margins are slim. And I think that it's very easy now for a VAR to double their margin on a laptop if they get it connected at the sale, right? So that'll give you a range of about what they can expect to make on that deal. Well, first of all, we're doing a lot of configuration because I think the more complex smartphones get, some of them need some adjustment when they come into the marketplace. So we've had that happen in our DC across the street. So we have a configuration lab. It's easy for us to say drop in a SIM card, change packaging a bit. From an activation standpoint, we can do activations through our portal. So I think these are all been set up to scale, so they can rise as demand rises. But as you said, it is a new model right now for VARs to get interest in that area. I think one that's a real natural for them is if they sell the tablets that are out now, right? Because there is demand for sure for the wireless devices, but the ones that are 3G and to come 4G are going to need a connection. They're going to need apps, and I know when end users get them, they want them working kind of out of the gate. So I think our capabilities are there for that, but they're built to scale because it's really in its infancy for a lot of VARs as they're looking to figure out how do they get into that area, right? It is impacting laptop sales, or plan to, I think, over the year. So they're going to want to adjust and be at the forefront of that instead of watching that revenue start to slow down. Again, just in the end, a lot of resellers ask us about what's going to win, what's the form factor that's coming down, and I'd say one thing in general, we're not great, as a community in predicting what's going to be here 2 years from now, right? I know 2 years ago the iPad wasn't on the radar, but I think part of it is that our resellers are re-engaged and looking for resources, help from us to see when the next thing comes along, how are we going to support that? So again, I'd say keep their options open when it comes to manufacturers, and we can help recommend a solution as the technology changes. Well, I think that the advantage of Ingram Micro on this is that we can be agnostic when it comes to the solution that ends up dominating, right? Obviously, the iPads are the dominant and are really driving the consumeration of IT as people want to bring those into work, and they, a lot of CIOs hadn't designed their network for people bringing these devices in before. So, definitely that's a big influence going forward. But you have the opposite end of the spectrum where utilizing cloud services might allow for devices that are even more bare bones, so they're locked down 100% from a security standpoint. So you still might see, I think, a wave of those coming in that from the CIO perspective, they'd like to put something out that's more locked down. So I still think we haven't seen, the real benefit of saying having a dumb terminal if you're doing a call center. We haven't seen the demand for that pick up. I think because PCs are cheap, but from a security standpoint, they're easy to lock down. from a cloud perspective, definitely just scratching the surface of that from a mobile device standpoint. That you can see in the Canadian market and in the U.S. market as well, companies putting together the infrastructure in the background to handle huge volumes when these start to become more proliferate a bit more than they are now. But from a purely cloud device, haven't seen that yet. I mean, the Amazon Kindle Fire just launched yesterday, and just reading through the fine print of that, there seems to be some enhancements made to utilize their central servers, right, to speed up response time on it. So that's new, and we'll see how the technology works. But that's an area that nobody else has scratched yet, and I think that's what we can expect. I think these announcements are going to come out, every 60 to 90 days that are going to change the landscape when it comes to this. So again, one of the advantages we have is we can distribute all manner of different devices, and we can help to recommend of ours which technologies we see coming down that they'd want to invest in and be able to recommend to their resellers.